Hey y'all, Lotakune here. Remember that video I posted a couple weeks ago? The one where I talked about the first ever Halloween event with the funny red eye? Yeah, remember how I brought up the thing about paintball?
Way through riddles and puzzles. Or they hold some sort of paintball event.
Yeah, this video will be going over one of those paintball events. Halloween Paintball 2011, Crypts Of Dunfort is an event that predominantly focuses on paintball. Yeah. But wait, there's a lot more to talk about, I swear. This event surprisingly contains a lot of things that kind of defies the transition from older, more primitive events to newer generation events.
Is that because 2011 was the year that brought out the most modern features, or because it was the year that had probably the least to talk about in terms of events? I don't really know for sure, but what I can say for sure is that it's likely a combination of multiple factors. You have stuff like the first ever usage of terrain in the event, or like actual instances of unique scripting visuals, stuff that you can't really find for sure when looking at the events that occurred before this, and it's honestly a really interesting event to dive through, even when taking into account that on the surface appearance, it just looks like a usual paintball event. Anywho, if you're down to stick around, I'll be taking a pretty deep look at this event, bringing up some old blog posts and videos, as well as playing a full round with some friends just to see how this old event that carries a lot of interesting features holds up nowadays. So, let's get on with it, eh? Just after a year since the last installment, Halloween Capture the Flag, Roblox took it upon themselves to build another brand new event based on the player versus player genre again. But whereas Halloween CTF was more based around fast-paced battles, using power-ups and abilities the respective teams had to battle each other out in unorthodox ways, this time around the game will be more so focused on going back to basics, being more heavily influenced by Halloween Paintball 2009. Paintball 2009, without saying too much as to avoid spoiling the eventual video I'll be making to cover it, is a simple 3v3 King of the Hill deathmatch where players shoot one another to earn their respective team a couple of points. There was an MVP system, a main capture point, and was basically a pretty simple PvP game for all things considered. Roblox took these aspects and fundamentals and decided to improve upon them within the successor. How about we increase the player count from the 18 we had last year by a bunch, since now we can support that? Sure! How about adding more capture points to make it more competitive and team-based? We want people to walk around a much more larger map now, don't we? Yeah, sure, that too. How about a giant pterodactyl? You know what? Sure. And so, after a couple weeks of development, on October 26, 2011, the event was officially released along with a blog post advertising it titled Halloween. It ain't easy being orange. This time around, instead of it being a 3v3 paintball match over a relatively small map, it was now a 15v15, taking place over a very large map outfitted with 4 main control points that each team would have to quickly capture to earn the most points. As the blog post puts it, it's go time. The event ran on until November 3rd, lasting up to 8 days total, gathering a visit count of over 280,000, which by far was the most visited event game at the time, beating out other bangers like Turkey Hunt 2010, or the Roblox skate park that advertised the Seek and Luther event. We all remember the Seek and Luther event, right guys?
This is a great moment. I want you to have it.
Let's just move on to the next segment.
I'm doing something unique this time around where I'm separating the map and the gameplay apart, since this time around the map is completely unique and there's simply just so much to talk about it. Before talking about anything specific, let's get the elephant out of the room first. What is with this Minecraft-esque building style? What's with the blocks in a weird natural, unnatural looking environment? That, my Lotakune Bloxians, is terrain. Now, don't go into the comments quickly yapping about how terrain doesn't look like that. I know, because this is legacy terrain, or more distinctly known as voxel terrain. Before 2016, this terrain system was the main system of creating lush, wide environments that take on a natural look. I won't say they're realistic, but it's definitely representative of a more natural, organic environment. Not to get too nerdy, voxels are kind of like a 3D pixel that represents objects placed onto a 3-dimensional grid, and basically acts as fundamentals to 3D environments. Smooth terrain, the thing that we have nowadays, is freeformed. There's no real grid that it conforms to, and it basically acts as one big old customizable terrain canvas. The easiest way I can describe the difference between these two systems is that voxel terrain is grid-based. obviously from its name having the word voxel in it. Think Minecraft. This relatively simple difference is the main fault that would ultimately cause the demise of voxel terrain. First off, voxel terrain being grid-based kinda left it with no purpose compared to typical brick building. Whereas brick building is rather unrestrictive with what you can and what you can't build, voxel terrain, no matter what, has you conform to a 4x4 stud grid-based system, unironically making brick building somehow a better choice of making free-form organic builds compared to the system that was made to fill in this distinct spot. Complete with rather unappealing looking textures too, you can see a big reason as to why it was mainly unused outside of like a couple games. Another issue comes with how voxel terrain was handled server-wise. See, voxel terrain and smooth terrain are directly active objects. They react to things that happen around them, like say for example, an explosion happens and a crater is made. And for voxel terrain specifically, this reaction usually causes a lot of server pressure because of how much calculations need to be done for the intended reaction to be made. Smooth terrain gets away with calculations easier since, you know, it just deforms itself to fit whatever reaction is suited. But with voxel terrain, each reaction needs to be predetermined for what happened, and what the object in that grid needs to be replaced by in order to correctly react. I know I said react more times there than a Fine Bros react video, but bear with me because I really find voxel terrain such an interesting concept. Taking this back to Paintball 2011, voxel terrain was only just introduced publicly on October 7th of that year for all to use, after being tested and developed on since August, meaning that this event is probably the first event to ever use a terrain system, period. That's right, you can thank this event in particular for pioneering events like EggCon 2014. The Three Stooges. Yeah, how about that one? I know you guys like that one better. I'll have to preference that before getting into the map, I am inherently using an accurate representation of the 2011 terrain to represent the map design, as the materials seen in this recreation come from a later material update that happened roughly 3 years after the introduction of voxel terrain. For instances where I specifically talk about the terrain design, I'll be sure to specifically bring up examples from older footage that better represent the older terrain materials. Anywho, the map, which I'll just call Dunfort, which appears to directly reference a castle from Game of Thrones, is a pretty classy example of traditional brick building being blended together pretty smoothly with terrain. The brick building predominantly being rural and medieval architecture with big castles and vintage housing, combined with gothic elements like these crypts and tombs, make up for a very visually pleasing and stereotypical spooky environment. The terrain combined with the trees also add a sense of depth, like this is a real natural environment with hills and low points instead of just being a weird empty zone. There's even a couple farms here that pay homage to the farmland that Paintball 2009 took place on. It's not just the surface that gets a lot of detail, as on the map lies a whole entire cave system too, complete with secret tunnels that even lead to many significant parts of the map, mainly highlighting these tunnels from under the spawn point of each of the team's bases, as well as a collection of caves that lead to this catacomb area, which additionally hides another secret area with this eerie angel statue, kinda looking like a weeping angel from Doctor Who. The environmental design of the dark night sky covered with stars and a glaring moon, or sun in this case, really completes the atmosphere of this being some kind of uncharted Twilight Zone area with two teams endlessly duke it out. Overall, this I could say for sure is probably a very good example of brick building blending with terrain, even if it's, say, a little primitive compared to more recognizable examples like EggCon 2014. The terrain really adds a unique environment. It's not just there just to showcase a brand new feature, it really feels like it was specifically credited to be a part of the game in a substantial way, which I appreciate heavily. Voxel terrain can be a really easy gimmick to showcase without inherently adding anything to a game. Just look at this LEGO Hero Factory event game for example, just kinda using it as a background piece, not really adding anything gameplay wise. Speaking of gameplay however, let's actually dissect the main meat of the game and see how it actually holds up compared to prior events.
The gameplay is pretty much what is said on the box. The server consists of up to 30 players that get split between two teams, the Pumpkin People and the Monsters. The Pumpkin People spawn over at the more rural side of the map at this kind of decrepit farmhouse, whilst the Monster team spawn on the other side of the map at this more nicer looking house. The Monsters are split between 3 different battalions, rotating in and out every round. The 3 being the zombies, categorized by people in the team wearing the zombie package, as well as the 2009 zombie hat. The werewolves, categorized by people this time having the lead of the pack package, as well as the werewolf mask accessory. And finally, skeletons, who are more easily recognizable by all the team members being classical skeletons. Pumpkin people, on the other hand, are completely constant, never being swapped out for another sub-team or whatever, and having all members don on the pumpkin trick-or-treater package. It's important to note that while yes, the monster team does indeed have different variants, none of the 3 different monsters actually have any distinct characteristics outside of the cosmetics, so it'll always end up being somewhat of a fair fight. The 2 teams additionally have a distinct color which is identifiable from the name tag, sword, and paintball color the individual team members carry, with the monster team being themed around cyan and the pumpkin people of course being themed around bright orange. Joining the game, if initially alone, the game will then wait for at least 3 players to start. Then when after the game detects that 4 people total are in the server, it runs a quick little intermission before the round starts, which even has this cool little GUI effect. Baby's first tween, am I right? Players can't move during this short little intermission, so promptly just take this moment as a breather. After the intermission plays, the game then promptly displays a message stating "Begin," revealing the heads-up display and allowing the player to move and shoot the paintball gun. The HUD is very reminiscent of the 2009 Paintball HUD, with it showing the score of each team along with the information being color-coded to the team color. The new additions to this HUD specifically come with how the individual team scores also have a special icon which identifies the team, helpful for identifying what type of monster you're fighting as a pumpkin person. Maybe not so useful since, you know, the monsters don't have any unique characteristics outside of the design differences, but what is useful is the brand new timer placed on the bottom of the HUD, which shows what's left in the duration of the round in seconds. Previously, 2009 would only show the time left in minutes, using a full screen message which was pretty obscuring to the gameplay experience. So this brand new timer, which is more condensed on the screen and tells more accurate information, is greatly appreciated. The duration of a round goes on for 7 minutes from start to finish, with the winning team being decided at the end of the round. The main goal of each team is to capture one of the 4 capture points in the map and hold them down to keep earning points for the team. 1 point for first capture, then 1 point tally for every subsequent 5 seconds the point is held for that team. Additionally, you can earn a point for your team for each kill you get for shooting at the other team with your paintball gun or slicing them up with your sword. Speaking of those, each player gets given the sword and a paintball gun which previously mentioned are team colored. The sword is pretty much a normal sword, having the usual slice and thrust function. And the paintball gun in this game is a rather more modern take on the classic paintball gun in brick battle games, being based upon the more up-to-date at the time, paintball gun gear released around 2010, which is a bit more faster and tactile compared to the classic copper bin variant. Players are intended to obviously use these to fight one another, and they make for a good weapon set, though a lot more tame compared to 2010's big variety of buffs and different weapon types. Getting back to the 4 control points, the main focus of the round, there are 3 located on the surface, with 2 being on the individual crop fields on each side of the map and 1 being in the castle near the middle of the map. The final one is a lot more interesting, as it takes quite a bit of exploration to reach, as the last control point is located at the underground crypt, only accessible by caves and tunnels on the map. These tunnels usually have an entrance near spawn, with the entrance being a mausoleum. Additionally, there are other tunnels that players can access through a trapdoor in the spawn room that opens up when a round starts, which leads to a hill pretty far from the spawn, which has 2 torches lined next to them. This is what I meant earlier by saying how the terrain really feels like it's embedded with the gameplay. It blends really well. All in all, the whole capture the point gameplay loop adds a really heightened level of competitiveness, especially with a large map that allows the player size of 30 to split into smaller groups and enact skirmishes on each point. It's like every moment there's an opportunity to either invade in hopes of getting a new capture point or defend it in hopes of holding your team's capture point. At the end of the round, each player is also tallied with individual feats as decided upon an MVP for the winning team, going off by individual scoring system that's kinda already the same as the existing team scoring system, but now contributing to capturing a control point now gives 3 points. A more competitive version of the 2009 MVP system, always a cool thing to see an event improve on something from the past. Overall, I believe the gameplay, while still remaining pretty simplistic given the time era, is a substantial improvement upon 2009, pretty much improving on both the aesthetic and gameplay front of things. The gameplay feels fresh, whilst also remaining somewhat faithful, as if 2009 had the same scripting ability and know-how the development team in 2011 had, this would be what 2009 would have been, if that makes sense. Now that I pretty much talked about every main gameplay point, let's focus on that thing. You may be asking, why is there a pterodactyl flying around? Well, you see, this will make a lot more sense if we move on to the prizes segment, which, funnily enough, there will were 4 prizes total for this event, a relatively good number of prizes for something that's relatively small in the grand scheme. Half of the prizes are earned by completing tasks similar to the original 2009 Halloween Paintball, whilst the other half are completely original, especially one of them, which is comedically absurd. Beginning off, the Halloween 2011 Paintball cap is earned by simply being on the winning team at the end of a round. It's a rather pleasing design, being a dark cap with green accents as well as a horrified, ghoulish Roblox logo on it. Pretty neat. Next is the Halloween 2011 MVP trophy, giving out to the top scoring member of the winning team via that individual scoring system I briefly spoke about. The design itself, whilst not as nearly as iconic as the Halloween trophy from 2009, which was equally given for the same MVP-based objective, is still rather pleasing to look at. It's a little statue of a Robloxian holding a paintball gun stands up on top of a pretty brilliantly designed base that reads Paintball Champion. Overall, a pretty nice hat. Now, onto the more wacky objectives. The Halloween 2011 Fearless Paintball Mask is earned by finding it on the map. Now, this is a rather interesting one, as it's not exactly a randomly spawning item, but rather a collectible that sits in a constant spot. Specifically, this bottom corner wall on the monster side. Whilst not initially obvious, there is a way to get up here, being this little terrain ramp that's hidden in the wall across from the paintball mask. It's pretty unique, not that challenging since the way to get up here is still pretty far across from the pumpkin people spawn, making it pretty easy to reach for both teams. And it's generally a pretty alright objective. The mask itself is a pretty sleek design. I especially like the orange to black gradient on the lens. Yep, they decided to give out the out-of-place bird dinosaur as a shoulder POW. Not the strangest prize ever, but it's certainly up there. Speaking strangest, let's talk about its objective. Dotted around the map are 12 crows. They don't really do anything and just kinda watch the chaos of the battle unfold before their eyes. Unfortunately for these observers, they're about to be caught in the crossfire because the first step of getting the pterodactyl is to at least shoot each crow once. You can tell when you shot a crow because the stock crow sound will play. Animal abuse. Classy. All locations are pretty easy to spot. Just imagine where a crow would hang out and you'll probably be able to spot them all. They usually hang out on rooftops, trees, and scarecrows. You guys don't really do that good of a job, huh? After all 12 crows have been shot, the player must then go and shoot at the pterodactyl rapidly flying around the map, which oddly also plays a crow noise when shot at. This is really strange. After doing so, the player would then win the pterodactyl accessory. But was it really worth it to shoot 12 innocent crows and a crow-sounding pterodactyl that was also surprisingly innocent? You could be the judge of that. But in the meantime, whilst I've been blabbering on about the gameplay and whatnot, why don't I actually show what a round on this game plays like? Complete with all the jank that comes with trying to run a game that's over a decade old on a new copy of Roblox, I'll be showing a highlight reel of my friends, stream chat, and I attempting to play this game and fumbling around. If you wish to skip ahead, check the description for the chapters where you'd hopefully see a timestamp for the conclusion, since I don't really blame you guys for skipping a segment like this. Anywho, and welcome all to Halloween Paintball 2011. The next retrospective that's coming out is going to be based on this game, so that's exciting. Oh my god. Okay, now I'm just clothesless. I can't jump. I don't think any of us can. What is happening? I think he's stuck on the wall. What was happening there? I think the best choice is just to play without jumping. Fellas. I am the goat at paint. Oh, I got like ghost shotted twice. Oh my god, I'm seeing everyone just like jumping. They're just getting flung against the wall. This is so cool. Look at all this beautiful voxel terrain. Looks like Minecraft, you know?
Oh, it looks so beautiful. Oh yeah.
So very beautiful.
Oh, it's the pterodactyl. I see it.
Oh, that's my teammate. I just forgot about that. Ah, you Nebula, get out of here. Oh, he's. Oh my god, he phased through the whole wall.
Oh, me and Matrix kill each other, so that's lovely.
I see the little paintball mask. I'm gonna go to it. Maybe it is kind of impossible to get to the hole. Okay, how am I supposed to get up here? if I'm literally forced to go backwards. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. Voxel terrain in modern Roblox does not work nearly as well as you would think it would. I can reach it! Please! Oh, please, I can reach it! No! Hey, we won! Let's go, zombies. Let's go. Why is it suddenly a 4v2 now?
Oh, come on.
I don't think this game likes you, Jim. I am strong, says Fragile Teapot. Stand proud. I can find the meshes of the hats in the 20. I keep forgetting you can't like press the numbers to select the weapon. You have to like actually click on it. I haven't seen any crows. Have you seen any? Supposedly they should be making sounds.
Well, I have my audio off, so...
I have my audio on, but it's all it's playing is just lightning. Halloween thunder.wave and Halloween lightning.wave.
That's pretty much what every Halloween event was until like 2013.
Hey, it's the paintball mask. You don't get a badge for it because this game doesn't have badges. Zombie face is so... Man, Roblox really had like a thing for modeling very, very creepy faces. No! Man down! Quickly, go to the pumpkin patch.
Didn't help that Matrix is AFK.
Your friend Bowling has joined the experience. Who is Bowling? I keep thinking I'm hitting it, but the balls aren't going far enough. Wait, I hear a crow. I hear a crow. Have you seen Egg Hunt 2014 Corruptions? Sound like a creepypasta or something?
Rabbit grows a stomach on his chest.
He grows a stomach on his... What does that mean?
His organs go on the outside of his body.
Oh wait, I forgot. We can jump without being flung. Wait, that's an advantage we can use. Francisco Javier Delgado Selgovia says, Loda, drop Umber Hollow's last episode, Loda. John Bowling.
I'm John Bowling, and
I'm John Bowling. We should play Roblox bowling.
Yes, we should. No.
John Bowling Pie, WWP. Bowling Town. This stream was supposed to be a very, very regular stream where me and Jeb would just play some cool games with chat, but then it devolved into John Bowling adventures, you know? You guys have 60 seconds to catch up while John Bowling and Nebula dance with me.
If you wish to join me in future recordings and Babawi paintballs and junk, subscribe and join the Discord to get notified about future streams. I don't know, I'm not really good at this shilling thing. Halloween Paintball 2011 Crypts of Dunfort, while ultimately not being a big spectacle or that particularly memorable, did a lot of things right as well as managed to pioneer some future event ideologies. First, you got the introduction of a terrain system in an event, then you got some pretty enjoyable gameplay, and then you also got some pretty enjoyable prizes and objectives on top of that. It's all generally a really good package altogether. However, while I can just buckle down and say the thing where sometimes simple is better, which is rarely ever true, the event is ultimately rather basic. It's not something that would compare to other better events, and even in some cases, I would have somewhat appreciated to see more of an exciting rendition of a 2009 concept, outside of just blankly improving everything, which, while it is appreciated, it makes it so this event, outside of a few aspects that not a lot will pay attention to, has no real substantial sense of identity. So with all those pointers out of the way, I like to present this event with a score of 7.2 out of 10. Yeah, I'm bringing back decimals since it was kind of hard boiling down scores to just 10 different choices. And in case if you're wondering, here's the decimal score of the prior events where I didn't do that. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed this rather big retrospective. I believe Christmas is coming up next, so hey, maybe another Gift Explosion retrospective next? I hope to see you then. Real quick, a real big shout out to Roblox user Legacy Terrain for uploading a playable copy of 2011 Paintball I used for the stream, as well as any other YouTube channel I used old footage for. All footage I use along with the game and other general information about the event will be linked in the description for all to view. And with that, I'll see you next time. Put me down, put me down!